Hi everyone, thanks for joining me once again. My name is Peter. You're watching Thailand Bounded. If you haven't been here before, I talk about all things Thailand. Okay, today I've got 3 viewer stories for you. It's a Saturday morning, it's story time once again. I've got some good news. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you'll have heard me say I've run out of stories. I've been telling stories on this channel every Saturday for the last 4 years, and I've actually exhausted all the stories I had, and I was regurgitating older stories from 3 or 4 years ago. So the good news is I've had people send me in some new stories. I've got enough now for 2 or 3 weeks, but as always, if you're sitting on a story, you've been to Thailand or actually anywhere in Asia and you've got a good story that you think people will enjoy, send it in. I'll change names. It'll be anonymous and you can hear your story on this channel. Right, I'm going to get into the 3 stories, but before I get into them, I just want to tell you the first story and the second one is actually comprised of several smaller stories. I met the guy, the first story here, the guy's only about 30. I met him here in Bangkok very, very briefly. Nice guy. Name change as always, and I'm going to get straight into it.
สวัสดีค่ะ
My name is John and I am currently living in Japan for the last 6 years. After 6 years in Japan, I came to a fork in the road in my life. I was not happy with my work in Japan and I broke up with a Japanese girlfriend of 3 years, the year prior. Other Japanese women did not really come to the same level as her, so I thought it was time to move on. Quick note, me and my ex-partner are still very good friends and it all ended very smoothly. My idea was to go to Thailand in 2020 for the first time. Around that time I found your channel. However, the pandemic stopped that. I then wanted to go in 2022 but chose the Philippines as I went with a friend and his desire to go there was slightly more than mine to go to Thailand. I can be a bit of a pushover in that sense. So finally, in 2023, I decided to finish my work in Japan and travel the world. I would start my travels in the USA for 2 weeks, visiting old friends and family before making a quick stop in Korea. Once returning to Japan, I had a few days there before I planned almost a month in Thailand. Now, when I was doing my planning, I looked up the no drinking days in Thailand and they fell a week into my trip. I had a lot of thinking about how to get around this, and this was my plan. I decided to spend 5 days in Cambodia, then Bangkok for 3 days, then I went to Laos for 6 days, which was over the 2 dry days in Thailand. The reason why I mention this is because this is where the story gets interesting. Cambodia was more of an educational trip than anything else, learning about the history of Pol Pot's regime as well as going up to Angkor Wat. The irony of going to Cambodia is that the first day I arrived in Cambodia, they actually were having a dry day themselves. But in Cambodia, that didn't really change much. I had 3 days in Bangkok before I then moved on to Laos. I must remark that the first week of this trip was with a good friend of mine and the remaining 3 weeks would be alone. I had 1 night alone in Bangkok before my move to Laos. I spent the first night in Vientiane and then went to Vang Vieng for a couple of days. Whilst I was there, I was using Tinder to speak to Laotian women. I agreed to meet a Laotian girl when I arrived back in the capital and the night before I left to go to Chiang Mai. It was a wonderful evening and we drank a lot of beer and had some nice food. When the evening ended, she wanted to take it a step further. However, in my timid way, I rejected it as I heard it was actually against the law for a foreigner to have any aerobics with a Laotian. We said our goodbyes and I carried on my journey. As the weeks went on, we continued to talk and she was really keen to meet again. After some planning, we managed to meet in a border town in Thailand between the Thai and Laos border. We had a wonderful week together, but soon it was over and I had to get back to Bangkok before going back to Japan the next day. There was tears at the airport and we promised to try and be together in the near future. However, that was not to be. She was a very kind woman who was actually a translator who was making some good money. I rarely put my hands in my pocket the entire time we were together. I really wanted to be with her. However, reality kicked in when I returned to Japan and started looking for work in Laos. It appears that volunteer work is the only thing that really goes on there, or the jobs that are there are filled in by people who do not leave Laos. It was heartbreaking to say, but I had to give the ultimatum to this lady. There was a lot of phone calls and tears, but I knew it was a great risk to make a move to a country without any information. I have not heard from her since, and that was probably for the best. I'm still under 30 and I do have a little savings and no strings attached to me in my life at the moment. However, in reality, it would have still been a big ask to move to Laos, as something that I might have regretted once the novelty wore off. Anyway, here is me watching your videos weekly, thinking that nothing bad could happen to me and I would not fall for any of the stories you tell. But I was a whisker away from moving to another country for someone I met on a holiday. I guess it can happen to the best of us. Nice little story. Okay, we're going on to story number 2. I was in Chiang Mai. We're going on to story number 2 of this first story. I was in Chiang Mai for a few days over the summer and I was told it was a great place to explore and see the city. I remember being in a bar one night on a Sunday and I was alone. I was having my Sunday dinner when the bar staff asked me if I could move tables to sit a family down. I agreed, as I'm from a big family and I know it can be difficult to get tables together. I then continued to eat and then 20 minutes later the same thing happened again. Now a little ticked off, I moved but didn't make any small talk, this time to the waiters. Then a few minutes later I was asked to do it again. Now, listening to your stories, I know that getting angry is not the thing to do, especially in a bar or restaurant. So I just went to the till to pay my tab. As I was paying, this London guy who owned the bar came over and went, "Mate, you sit there, we don't need that table now." I just ignored him, paid my tab and walked out and went to another bar. I was slightly ticked off. It took a lot of courage to have a beer alone in the first place, and that place certainly did not make me feel welcome. Okay, and on to the guy's third story. I went on a trip around Thailand last summer. I spent a week in Udon Thani, which I enjoyed a lot. I had some female company with me one evening, and it was the day some English football was on. I went to this one bar where we were getting served by a ladyboy and a couple of other girls. Now this was in the summer, so it was low season at the time. We got speaking to the bar girls and had a lot of fun with them singing and dancing and genuinely having banter. The girls and ladyboy were very kind and sweet and were very accommodating. However, things quickly changed once I asked for the bill. We spent a bit of money in the bar and the bar was closing after we left it anyway. The bill came, I pulled my wallet out to make the payment. Before I could even touch the baht in my wallet, the staff started shouting at me, "Money now! Give me the money now!" I was shocked as I was not drunk, and I literally put my hand in my pocket the moment the bill touched the table. It was so bad that even the girl I was with at the time asked them in Thai what the issue was. I was annoyed, but I paid my bill and left. It gave me a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, as I felt like the whole evening was just a face from these bar staff. I still don't understand what the issue was. Okay, and we're going into the fourth of the first story. This is his last one. I was in Hua Hin last month to spend a bit of time by the beach. I was walking around the bars and enjoying the live music. I was not interested in meeting any of the girls in Hua Hin, as I just wanted some good R&R after a busy year of work. As I was walking home one night, I walked past this bar and a girl blocked my way in the road. She was stunning and leaned herself onto me and asked if I would like to go into the bar. At that point, I realised that one more drink wouldn't hurt me. I bought her and myself a drink and she started asking me the same old questions all bar girls ask. The pressure from the girls stopped, however, once I bought her a drink. I was actually ready to leave, as I was not too bothered if my night ended with this lady or not. As I was about to leave, this one bar girl walked over to me and asked if I could buy the whole bar a drink, as they did not have any customers this evening. You should have seen this woman. She had one eye and a very deep voice. I politely declined, but put my 100 baht down and almost ran out of the bar. The moral of the story goes that there are some princesses in Thailand for sure, but sometimes you might come across a few pirates. Okay, so that's four short stories from the one guy there. And you know, if you've got similar experiences, if they don't necessarily have to be crash and burn girlfriend stories, but if you've got some experiences like this, send them in. I'll read them out, and some people will find them interesting. The first time I read these 4 stories, I thought they were quite interesting. And the thing is, the guy's only about 30, so he's got out there, he's traveling the world, and good luck to the guy, good luck to him. Right, let's get into story number 2. I'm from the US, and for this story you can use my first name if you like. I have a friend who has been travelling to Thailand for 20 years, so I had heard many things before I actually travelled to Thailand in January 2023, but nothing can prepare you for the experience. The flight to Bangkok was definitely a struggle. A 10-hour flight to Frankfurt with a 12-hour layover, then an 11-hour flight to Bangkok. I used the 12-hour layover to explore a bit, thinking it would help me sleep on the next flight. It didn't, and I only got a few hours of rest. I felt miserable the entire flight and thought I was going to need to sleep for a day to recover. But as soon as I landed, I felt energised by my new adventure and what was in store for me. I had watched plenty of travel videos, so I knew what to expect. I made it through security and got some baht and a SIM card for my phone before taking the airport line into downtown. Once on the streets, I was overwhelmed by the smell, heat, traffic and everything that is Bangkok and what Bangkok has to offer as I walked to my Airbnb. Instead of getting a boat or taxi, I wanted to walk and explore the city on foot. I love to walk the neighbourhoods and explore, as I find it is the best way to experience any place. I arrived at my Airbnb and showered thinking I'd be sleepy, but I had to go out and explore my new surroundings. I walked to Soicowboy to see what all the fuss was about, but I was not that impressed all that much, so I continued to Sukhumvit Road and eventually made my way to Soi 11 for a few drinks and my first pad thai. I was completely overwhelmed by what I was seeing. There is nothing I can say that will make you understand the feeling, as it is something you need to experience yourself. Coming from America, the self-proclaimed land of the free, I never expected what I was feeling. The only thing I can say is I never felt safer and more free than I was feeling at this moment. I was in a strange city where I knew absolutely nobody, had little ability to communicate, but still felt absolutely amazing. I had a few conversations with other foreigners, but quickly learned that not all white people speak English. I also had an African lady showered me with attention until she realised I wasn't buying what she was selling. Eventually, I started to feel tired and decided to head to my Airbnb. I found a vendor selling fruit and with my last 20 baht bought some pineapple for my walk down Sukhumvit. I was already in love with this place and had not even begun to really get the full experience of what this country has to offer. Luckily for me, this was just the beginning of a 2-month trip and would lead to all kinds of adventures that were a roller coaster of emotions and good times. There were some things that were hard to get used to, but that should be expected when coming from a different culture. My biggest suggestion I would give to other travellers would be to get away from the tourist areas and go explore places where you get strange looks from Thai people not expecting to see Farang there. Okay, so this guy's also included a second story within his main story, okay? This is his second story. I am a 46-year-old American on his first experience outside of the Western world early in 2023. I was told by a female companion that I needed to experience Khao Sun Road before I leave Thailand, so decided to book a room at the D&D Inn for 2 nights. Once I arrived and was settled in, I decided to check out the rooftop bar and pool area to see what it offered. It was full of young travellers drinking and partying, so not really my scene as I was 46 at the time. I was taking a few pictures of the view and wondering what I was going to do here. As I was getting the feeling that I was too old for where I was at, suddenly a man came up to me and began speaking. I was in complete confusion at the heavy accent that I was hearing. I knew that he was speaking English, but I could not comprehend anything he had said at first. I hope I don't sound too ignorant, but his Scottish accent was very heavy and it took a minute to adjust. Eventually his brother came up to us and started chatting away too. After getting to know each other a bit, we decided to meet up at 6 p.m. to go out for drinks and see what we could get into. We met out front of the hotel and the party already started, so we quickly found a few bars and watched everything going on around us. A few scorpions later, along with some more beers, we had hopped around to a few different bars before settling on a balcony to get a better view. One of the brothers had previously been to Thailand before and had a friend that was going to meet us for drinks. She was bringing her Thai boyfriend, who was a military man. I wasn't sure about this at first, but I just went with it, and I'm glad I did. I was already quite tipsy when they arrived, but the night was just beginning. After having a few drinks with our new companions, the Thai boyfriend said we should go to another club. Once we arrived, we were told we cannot pay for our entrance and given a drink ticket for our first drink. I was told this was a Thai club that charges farang way more to enter, but the boyfriend had taken care of everyone. We ended up at a nice table with a few Thai dishes to snack on, also a big bottle of Jack Daniels. We were having the time of our lives. A good Thai band was playing live, and although I had no clue what they were saying, the music was great. There was a table of ladyboys next to us. Me and one of the Scottish brothers were joking around with them. Nothing crazy, just being friendly. Eventually, the drinks and food were gone, and as we left and said our goodbyes to the Thai couple, we decided to continue our night elsewhere. A tuk-tuk ride later, we jumped around to a few different clubs that I have no idea exactly where, as I was intoxicated by now, but eventually I ended upon Sukhumvit near Nana. We lost the brother who had previously been to Thailand, so it was just me and another Thailand newbie, so we decided to walk to soicowboy. Unfortunately, by the time we arrived, it was late and beginning to close down, but we did get to enjoy a drink. And I was drunk enough to start eating grasshoppers with some bargo before we had a ride back to Carlson Road. I am glad I made friends with these two brothers, as we remain in contact and plan to meet again. We also met up in Pattaya for another crazy adventure a few days after this day. I suggest being open-minded to meeting new people and new experiences and adventures while travelling to Thailand. So it's true, you know, I've said many times on this channel, you only have to be alone in Thailand if you want to be alone. People are so much friendlier here, you know, even the foreigners, when they come here, they're a lot more relaxed. So even if you come here for the first time by yourself, it's not difficult to meet people. And if you're in a bar by yourself, normally people will approach you anyway. And it's normally not a scam or anything like that. People just, like-minded people want to hang out together. Like this guy had a good time, so he's made some friends that he's met several times. Right, okay, into story number 3. I was born and raised in the US. I am of Asian descent, but I am not Thai. The only Thai people I've ever encountered were the workers and owners of the few Thai restaurants I've been to here in the States. The only thing I ever knew about Thai people was what we see in Western movies. My first physical encounter with a Thai woman was in a massage parlour in a certain country in Europe. I went in just thinking it was a regular massage, but it turned out to be so much more. The masseur was a small petite Thai girl weighing about 90 pounds, maybe less. As the massage progressed, I realised this would be my first happy massage. I asked her if it was okay to touch, which she replied yes. She later got undressed to very minimal clothing. Her body was perfectly smooth, her skin was tight, not a single piece of flab or fat. It had been at least 10 years since I had been up close with a girl whose body was of this calibre. At the end, we hugged each other in every way possible, but no aerobics. She was clear from the start that aerobics was not part of the deal. When I finished, she took care of me ever so carefully and laid down next to me. She buried her face into my chest and caressed me. This was just a simple massage, but she treated me like I was her long-term boyfriend. Here's the real kicker of the story. This Thai girl was about 50 years old. I confirmed this by telling her I was 40, which she answered that she was much older. Like I said, her body was perfect and would put an 18-year-old Western girl to shame. The only thing that gave away her age was a few wrinkles I could see at the edges of her eyes. Other than her face, she had the body of an 18-year-old. I told her she was a beautiful woman and I loved her body, which she answers, no, I'm very old, not pretty at all. Which is a typical Thai woman's answer. They tend to be very modest and never conceited. On the flight back to the States, I thought about this girl a lot. Not like I wanted a relationship with her, but I was very puzzled as to how a 50-year-old woman could have such an amazing physical features. To me, she was a stunner. Can you imagine if your long-term partner or wife at age 50 still had a supermodel-like body? Wow, I scratched my head for many weeks thinking about this stunner. Fast forward a year later, I find myself in Chiang Mai and Bangkok with friends. These are not party friends, we are a group of explorers. We weren't there to indulge in the adult entertainment areas. The group consisted of men and women touring Thailand to indulge in the food and the culture. Our main goal was to be like those foodie YouTubers that travel around and eat amazing food for an extremely cheap price, which is exactly what you get everywhere in Thailand. While in Chiang Mai, I snuck off from the group to a massage parlour. The girl was in her 20s, very pretty, and gave me a similar experience like I had had in Europe. A few days later, I went back to the same place. Different girl, similar experience. Then I read about something called a soapy massage, which I never heard about before. I went to the soapy massage on 2 different occasions. The girls at the soapy massages were a lot more attentive and really made me feel like royalty. In all cases, the women were petite, beautiful, tight-skinned, just very beautiful. But of course, they were all masseurs and had a job to do, so it's obvious the shop owners would only employ the prettiest girls. As I explored Thailand more, I realised that most of the women are beautiful. In the malls, in the subway, on the SkyTrain, at the markets, walking the streets, there were beautiful women everywhere. Previously, I thought all the Thai girls I met were very beautiful because it was their profession to be beautiful. At the end of my trip in Thailand, I had seen so many beautiful women just going about their business, not something you see every day in the States. As I was leaving Thailand, the light bulb finally went off in my head. Thailand is filled with stunners. Everywhere. A few months after returning from Thailand, I made a very strange life decision that I never thought possible. I would have a serious relationship with a Thai girl and settle down with her. I had spent enough years chasing after every skirt I saw and indulging in different partners. I had my fun. That time is done for me now. I'm at the age where I just want one woman in my life. I found a website called Thai Cupid. I made an account and met several women. In the end, I kept a constant video chat relationship with one very nice girl. She was from a smaller Thai city, not in a tourist area. She was uneducated and worked in an office. From her pictures, I thought she was cute. She never wore makeup during our video chats, but I thought she was a very pretty girl without makeup. When I finally came to meet her in Thailand, she met me at the airport, which most Thai girls will do. She later revealed to me that one underlying reason she came to meet me at the airport was to ensure that I was actually coming out of the passport control area and I hadn't been spending time with another Thai girl here in Bangkok. She didn't want to be just another girl on my list, which she definitely was not. Later on, when I left back for the USA, she walked with me all the way to the airport entry, watched me scan my boarding pass and watched me walk to the security check. She really wanted to make sure I was actually leaving the US and not going off to meet other Thai girls. Anyway, when I first saw her in person, I thought she was absolutely gorgeous. Her pictures and video chat did her no justice. She is so much prettier in person. I'm so happy that she's very shy, which means she takes horrible selfie pictures, so she only looked a little bit attractive on her dating profile. I think if guys on the dating app knew what she looked like in real life, she would have been scooped up a long time ago. Another, I had watched a lot of YouTubers give advice about Thai relationships. A lot of guys have an equation of how old your Thai girlfriend should be. Take your age, divide by 2, add 7. I laughed at this equation when I first heard about it, but then when I applied it to my situation, it came out exactly right. We spent a couple of months together and it was absolute bliss. Her physical features were exactly what I thought they would be. Perfect. I found my stunner. The aerobic sessions happen most days and for a couple of hours each time. I feel so lively with this girl, not just because she's very beautiful, but because she is also very nurturing, like all Thai women. I'm not saying Thai women are the best in the world, but for me, they are perfect. The relationship is going great and I couldn't be happier. I've watched a lot of YouTubers give advice and warnings. I also watched the whole 90-minute long animation on your channel entitled Ruthless Bar Girl. All guys looking for some female companionship in Southeast Asia need to watch that video. I do okay for myself financially. The trips I take to Thailand don't hurt my checkbook. I never dip into my retirement or savings. I've budgeted my vacations so that I will never miss any money I spend in Asia. I am taking this new relationship very seriously and at the same time watching my pocket. Maybe in a couple of years I will have a brand new updated story to send to Thailand bound. Thanks for reading out my story. Okay, so that's it for the stories today. That was another nice story. A lot of guys are put off when they listen to these stories, or they'll go and try and meet girls in bars and go-go clubs and stuff like that, and they have a bad experience. But remember, you know, they're in that profession, aren't they? Most Thai girls are very decent. They're very, as the guy said in the story there, they really take care of the guy. And I know a lot of guys who are married to Thai girls, who've had families here in Thailand and also in Europe and the States. And they do make very, very good wives, very, very loyal and just very good wives. Okay, right. I'm not working for the I'm not consulting for any marriage bureau or anything like that. Right. Okay. So that's it for this week. Once again, guys, thank you again to the guys who sent in some stories. So I had some new stories to read out. And as always, I'll end as I start. If you're sitting on a story, send it in and I'll read it out right here. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch up with you once again next Saturday.